Hello everybody, my name is Hansel, and today we got a Burner game. Burner, if you don't know, stands for... Sorry, I'm shifting my mic around. Burner, if you don't know, stands for Best Riven NA, and he is probably the best Riven player in North America. So we have a good gameplay from him against Darius. Did I say Darius? Derp. Against a top lane Darius, who would cause a lot of problems for Riven because he has really great poke damage with a stupid ass fucking spin win, and Riven can be quite squishy and relies on her high mobility. So if like Riven ease away and just gets apprehended back, then she's gonna kind of fucking struggle if she's already unleashed her Q. Then again, the shield is really effective for blocking off the bleed effect from Darius, but just things like that, like little things that he's already winning, for example, and he's already got really high armor, which is presenting a problem for Riven because her passive is going to be way less effective and she's losing hard. Even though she has popped her red pot and Darius hasn't, she's still losing trades. Then again, she popped level 2, so this is a really typical best Riven NA tactic of just red potting, popping level 2 as fast as you can, going for an early first blood. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to pan out here. Yeah, so Riven even had a 350 gold red pot, and now she's at huge disadvantage. Although I know it's a guy named Tommy, but still, I'm just gonna say she because it's easier. Riven basically is at a huge disadvantage already now because lost first blood and spent all or almost all the starting money that she was given on a red pot that isn't even effective enough to kill Darius with in a 1v1. So this is something that really needs to be worried about. I think the main problem is that Darius has really high armor, but the bleed means that he does tons of damage over time, and as soon as Riven gets the E, then it will be a lot easier to take care of that bleed damage, as Riven's E is incredibly strong. And in fact, I wouldn't be that surprised if Riven decides to max out the E first. Hits level 3, but yeah, there you go. See, E's away, covers up most of that damage, and that's a good trade, a good positive trade. But don't know what Darius has come back with. I don't know what items he's come back with because he fucking tabs so fast. But yeah, nice. But see, this fucking E shield is just so ridiculous that Riven can pretty much just trade really effectively. Probably gonna have to ban Flash here. Yep. But there you go. That's just another evidence of Riven mobility, you know. But yeah, so Riven. Yeah, Riven is an okay matchup against Darius. It's not a matchup you're probably going to win, but it's the matchup you're probably going to get out of alive, although Riven is at a bit of a disadvantage right now. 4 minutes 34 and only 11 TS. Jarvan's just determined to camp the fuck out of his lane. Lee Sin's there to back up, so that's a pretty good call, but just playing very passively, trying to semi-bait Jarvan in. Lee Sin and Riven have really far, like, especially Riven with red pot, have really high early game damage, so they could probably have won that fight, I think. But they chose not to go in because they needed Jarvan to go all in and commit before committing. Otherwise, he would have just ran away or flag and dragged away. They maybe would have burnt a flash, but I don't know. But like here, can't really go for the engages, especially if she initiates with the Q. Lee Sin's coming in for a gank, but to be honest, I think this gank will just be completely fucking useless. He didn't hit his Q, and there was no like there was no way of initiating onto Darius. Plus, he probably would have... Oh, wait, he doesn't have flash. So, actually, that could have been a really easy kill. But I don't think Burner wanted to go aggressive. No flash, no ignite, so it's kind of hard to go aggressive on a champion like that. I think the intention here is just to E forward and tank up most of that bleed damage. Yeah, the Q and the bleed damage, and then just last it as efficiently as you could, which is obviously what you should always do in a hard lane, is just try and take as little free damage as possible while returning, while taking as much CS as you can. Like, that's literally just how you play safe. Obviously, as soon as Riven hits level 6, she hits a huge damage stim, but at the same time, Darius also hits a huge damage stim, so I think it's just gonna be a lost, not a lost lane, but a pretty difficult lane to do well in. But yeah, like, since Riven has no mana and relatively low cooldowns, like, early game they're quite long, but in general they're relatively low, which makes her really high mobility. She's a really good champion for CSing in a difficult lane. Goes a little bit aggressive, but then again, as you see, the E's away, but the apprehend is there, so it doesn't even matter. But like, look at that fucking bleed damage mixed with a ignite. It was an even trade right up until she started taking so much bleed, and now it's really rapidly uneven. Darius is level 6, so he's gonna put some really hardcore DPS on this tower. But to be honest, if Riven's gonna get dove, like, if she doesn't play this right, then she's gonna get dove and probably die. But Darius backed away. Relatively good call from Darius, because he could have intercepted the dive and countered it, but Riven would have been dead, I reckon. She's way too low to bait it out. Burner likes to go for double Doran's early game, like all the time, just for that massive damage to him. He's a really early game orientated player. He really likes just to go full aggressive and fully commit to winning the early game. And unfortunately, this is going to be a very hard game for him, because he's not winning the early game despite his efforts. I think level 6 and double Dorans might turn it around for him, and his damage output will skyrocket, but at the same time, Darius' armor is most likely to skyrocket as well. There's Jaximus, who's on the sister team of Curse Academy. But yeah, this is looking like a lost lane. Well, not a lost lane, because she's only forfeited first blood. She's got Ignite up, got her ulti up, dodged the Darius Q. I wouldn't be surprised if she wanted to go a little bit aggressive here. Let's see. Probably wants to clear the siege minion out first. But nice dodge with the E. Apprehend. Here, I think Darius is dead. He doesn't have flash, and he just fully committed. Yeah. That was a nice gank, nicely played. And now the kind of dominance of the lane has shifted slightly over to Riven's side, but if she gets ganked here by Jarvan or LeBlanc's still in mid. By Jarvan, it could look pretty bad. But she's gonna proxy this wave, which is a little risky. But then again, another 10 seconds on Darius, and it takes about 20 seconds to walk the lane roughly. So you got time, especially with Riven's stupid amounts of wave clear. So nice lead gank, and like top lane is one of the lanes where ganks can seriously turn around the lane. Picking up a Vamp Scepter for that sustain, I'm assuming, because that bleed damage is just going to keep ticking and keep putting the pressure on Riven, which is going to make it really awkward to CS properly without having to recall every 10 seconds. But obviously, yeah, the huge damage to him from double Dorans and her ulti means that she can just wreck through Darius at this point, unless he gets tanky enough. The main thing I'm concerned about is that Riven is committing very, very much so to the early game. She spent just under 1,500 gold on early game items. That's like red pot, health pots, wards, and double Dorans. Whereas Darius hasn't committed anything like he came into the lane with so much armor. But yeah, it's that bleed damage that's going to do fuck tons. That's why I really need to stack up on the lifesteal and the health pots. Whereas Darius isn't committing so hard to the early game, and he's probably going to lose the early game or break even in the early game, but he's going to have more of an advantage late game, which I'm a little worried on Best Riven NA's performance. But to be honest, Best Riven NA is the best Riven in North America by a long way. I didn't see what Darius bought there. This music is hilarious. I didn't see what Darius bought. I probably should have checked. I'm a little curious. Darius went Ignite for the early kill potential, which he got. Darius is actually one of those champions that right in the start of the game, at the level 1, level 2 exchanges, can just auto and he'll win. Like, auto, back out a little bit, use your Q, auto some more. I'm a little concerned about this huge minion wave, because Riven's going to probably take some serious poke unless she E's effectively here. So she's probably going to take some pretty hardcore poke. But remember that every time Darius procs his bleed, he can't go back under tower range until it goes away, because the tower will start aggroing him. But it's just a hell of a lot of creep damage to take. Yeah, and he's going just for those Qs and just slowly taking Riven down, but just stacking up the lifesteal and stuff. But this is one good thing about Riven, is that her shield probably needs a nerf in my opinion, because it makes her effective HP, like, just a quick explanation, your health is your actual health, your effective HP is roughly how much damage you can take, and Riven's E means that her effective HP skyrockets, because she can keep replenishing that every 4 or 5 seconds, I think it is, with max CDR and like max level. And if you can keep replenishing that shield, it means you're giving yourself effectively 200 health every couple of seconds, which means your effective HP actually goes way up. But pretty much just sitting on the tower here. They know that Lee Sin has no chance of ganking, but they also know that Jarvan has no chance of a dive, so, you know. But Darius is pretty much in a free farm lane, and I wouldn't be surprised if his CS goes way up. Or his late game will be way stronger than Riven's. But that's just a speculation, and I'm not sure how true it will hold. Because actually I find myself in this position a lot in the top lane where I'm dominant, but I push too hard and just get ganked and don't know how to finish it off. But he's just kind of like Q as much as can, but, you know, one of the best Riven players in the world here, so I think they know what they're doing more than I do. Darius is just, yeah, being relatively basic. Trying to get in, get out last hit as efficiently as you can, and that's pretty much what you have to be doing. Like, this is a really great lesson for top laners who want to play safely. I think Darius doesn't want to commit because he knows shit's, you know, gonna go down. And now he seriously knows shit's gonna go down. Nice flash. I'm not sure. Yeah, he can get away from this quite easily, but they burnt flash, so it's a small win. Riven burnt our ulti, but the ulti cooldown is actually relatively small. It used to be only about 60 seconds in the early game. Oh, Darius is dead. Poor Darius. Rip in peace, bro. Feel bad for Darius. He was pretty dominant early game, but then just good league ganks. And you know what? This is a good showing of how to win a counter-picked lane. So most people in low elos assume that if you get counter-picked, you've automatically lost your lane. When in reality, it's much better to what was I gonna say? Like, it's in reality much better actually to take a champion you're most comfortable with, even if you're going into a countered lane, because you can play safe under tower. Best Riven, eh? First time Riven. You can play safe under tower, wait for some ganks from your jungler, and let the lane turn around in basically what is a 2v1. Like, it's not camping, but it's just really easy ganks, because Darius can't not push all the way to tower. And while Best Riven NA sacrifices some CS, he still hit that 100 mark by 13 minutes, which is pretty much where he should be no matter what. And that is, of course, where you guys should try and be no matter what happening. Like, Riven's getting bullied, she's recalled like 4 or 5 times. And just things like that. Oh, he's alt-tabbed, which is kind of annoying because it makes it lag. So, like, Riven's getting bullied and shit like that, but it doesn't matter because he can still last hit efficiently, and he can still get in, get out, and do that shit. And he's got tons of this is like the benefits of playing one champion, in that you just learn how to do everything so efficiently. Like, he so rarely misses a last hit, especially even under tower. Like, he's just hitting all of them because he knows how much damage he needs to be doing to actually get the last hit, and he's using he missed one. He's using his passive to actually do that extra damage. 468 wins as Riven in one season. Like, this is the kind of level of commitment. And this kid is only 16, by the way. His name's Tommy. He lives in the US, I think on the West Coast. And he's only like 16 years old. He's still a teenager, but he's incredibly good. And like, I just want to note that like shit doesn't have to get in your way. Like, your age doesn't have to get in the way, you know? If you just keep playing and you keep trying, you'll eventually learn how to play champions like Riven like this. And eventually it will run out, because like Riven's getting countered hard, like really fucking hard. Darius is so high damage, and the bleed can completely shear her effective HP from her E. And her ulti will just mint her because she's relatively squishy in general. So 1v1 engagements is pretty difficult. But he's just like turn around the lane and snowball so hard that it doesn't really matter. He might even die here though, unless he can E in a couple of seconds. Nah, he's good. But yeah, but like, that was such a close engage, and yet Darius has been ganked, you know, twice now. And even though we got that first blood, and even though Riven committed so hard to the early game, like, she still has the lead. I mean, we'll see how it goes into late game, but Darius is kind of getting fucked over. Which is the playstyle of Best Riven NA, is that just fucking dominate the early game with a huge commitment in the red pots and the double Dorans into Brutalizer, because Brutalizer is also really solid for that cooldown reduction. I think next he's probably going to go for Boots of Lucidity or BF Sword. Depending on how he's playing, I'm probably going to say he's going to go for a BF Sword. But he's picking up health pots to counter that. Counter that bleed. But that's another thing I want to point out. It's 16 minutes in the game, but the guy's still buying health pots, because Like, health pots can save your life in so many occasions, especially if your lane opponent has Ignite. Failed. It's like, God! Like, having health pots can really be a lifesaver in the laning phase at any point in the laning phase. So just try and remember that. If you have a couple, like, he didn't even have just a bit of extra gold. He had about 1.3k, and he still bought like health pots. While it's a big investment, and if that's how you want to play, then you should definitely go with that. Because you have to make some investment in the early game if you want to win. And to be honest, this is how you win the early game. Like, even if you're in a counter lane, or if you're in a difficult lane, just play it safe, invest heavily, and then just wait for your opportunities and play it cool. And there you go, he's pretty much won his lane. I'm curious, because Riven scales incredibly well with her late game, especially since the cooldowns just go way down, which means her mobility skyrockets. But it's transitioned into the basically the mid game now, which is a really good opportunity to Riven, because her skirmish potential is incredibly strong when she hits 12, because you get the level 2 on the ulti and the big CDR gaps, and you start doing tons of damage despite your items, as we just saw when she fucking sliced the shit out of Jarvan alongside Lee. But I'm a little worried, because if this game pressures onto the super late game, then they're going to struggle, apart from maybe Orianna, who scales really well, but Lee Sin's damage falls way off, and Riven's can fall off pretty hard. Whereas Vayne's and Sona's, like, Sona never gets any fucking worse because of Crescendo. Darius does hit his kind of stride in the late game, because he gets kind of raid boss, but he still does tons of damage from his bleed. But to be honest, it's a pretty convincing win around the 30-minute mark, I'm calling now. LeBlanc doesn't scale particularly well into late game. She has insane amounts of damage early game, but you guys probably already know that. What did he buy for? Yeah, he went straight for the Bloodthirster. So I'm assuming the next buy will either be Black Cleaver or Lucidity Boots. But we'll see. Did he pop a mana pot? Why the fuck did he pop mana pots? I don't know. Best Riven NA kind of likes to troll. He's a cool guy though. You should definitely check out his stream. The stuff's in the thingy there. He's a cool guy. But yeah, he's just, I don't know, playing very safely, playing very typical top lanery. But this is kind of the driving force of the video, is that you want to make this big commitment. If you really need to win your early game, then make a big commitment to it. And this is pretty much what Best Riven does. Best Riven NA does every single game. His build is the same every single game. Actually, I don't think he gets boots for a while, because Riven has such high mobility. But if he is going to buy boots, I'm assuming they're going to be boots Lucidity. Nice call there with the blue buff. But he needs to back out of that pretty prompt. I think he's dead. Yeah, he's dead. Pretty hardcore CC coming out there, which is nice combo actually, but Orianna's just doing fucking tons of damage. And Lee Sin's pretty much hit his stride, although he's taking some unnecessary risks. Got the kill on Vayne, which is not bad. Orianna's going to start bullying people away from this tower, but I don't think they can save it. In fact, I really highly doubt they can save it. Yeah, it's gone. But yeah, like, the high mobility of Riven can also be her downfall, because her squishiness really gets exposed when she's CC'd pretty hard. So if you don't get time to E away, or your reactions aren't fast enough to E away from the situation, then you're just gonna die. But I'm a little curious as to why Best Riven NA held onto his flash there. Maybe it just wasn't up. I didn't check. But I reckon he could have flashed away from that safely. But I'm actually really interested to see how this goes, because normally I review the game before I do a analysis of it, but you know, I'm lazy. And I didn't feel like doing that, because I know Best Riven NA's playstyle and the general build he goes for every time. And did he just walk into lane without looking? I think he did, but it doesn't matter, because he's fucking Riven. Like, yeah, this is a mistake I make all the fucking time, is that I'm paying attention to other shit and I walk into lane and get ganked. And just, like, pretty much almost die. But that is one thing that Best Riven NA does really excellently, is that his experience with Riven has led him to have really strong decision making. So most Rivens would have kind of panicked and just died, but he just, like, fucking stormed the gates. He just went straight onto LeBlanc, because LeBlanc is one of the squishiest champions in the game, all throughout the game consistently, you know? So you can burst her down incredibly fast, and her strength comes from her mobility and her burst. Unfortunately, so does Riven's, and Riven has that little more effective HP, that means you can't burst her down as easily. And I think Sona's dead here. But this is pre-Riven change, so you can't easily jump over walls. And you cannot easily... you cannot... So, it used to be that Riven's final Q did a knockback instead of a knock up. But now it does a knock up. But this is the time when it does the knockback. And the knockback was actually far more useful. But this is why that was changed, by the way. Like LeBlanc, you'll notice, said that's so broken. What happened was there are two main Riven players who stream, and that's Best Riven NA and BoxBox. And they started doing this trick all the time, and people started noticing and taking notice and like, lol, I didn't even know you could do that. And Riot were like, hey, you know what? No one really knows we can do this, and to be honest, you're not meant to be able to do this, but we might as well just implement it as a feature. So I know that BoxBox wasn't very happy with the changes because the knock up made it difficult to bait under towers and get that knockback like into the position, because actually I don't know why Riven went aggressive there. That was really dumb. Because actually the knockback was quite significant. Yeah, see, Riven's complaining, yo, this CC, like this is one of the main flaws flaws of having a high mobility playstyle, is that you're really susceptible to CC, and this is where AD carries always get fucked. And by the way, for some reason, Best Riven NA always arranges his item in the same places, like his items in his bar in the same places. It's kind of strange. I don't know. I guess it's just habits, you know, because he's been playing Riven for a very long time, and loads and loads and loads. But it's all good. Emerald Dancer. That's a really gay name. Why do people get Bork on Kate? Well, I can answer that, Best Riven NA, actually. When Caitlyn gets into the team fighting phase, why do people get Bork and IE? Well, I'm going to explain this shit. Well, when people get into the team fighting situation, in the current meta, that's orientated around... Wow, my hair's really shit. That's orientated around high tanks and fighters and bruisers instead of assassins. Blade of the Ruined King became incredibly strong because of the kiting potential, which like slows them down, speeds you up. That's perfect kiting. It also gives you more effective HP because it's instant lifesteal, but it also does percentile damage every time you hit them, based on their max health, which is really strong on Caitlyn, because if you take Bork and IE and you've got your passive, one crit from Caitlyn will do 5%, I think, of their health, plus 250% crit damage, which is all of your AD plus, plus 250%, plus 6% of their health. So let's say you have, 200 health, just for the sake of easy numbers. That's 500 damage, plus if they have 2,000 health, 5% of 2,000 is 100. I'm really bad at math. Is 100, so you're doing roughly 600 damage on one auto attack. And when you get to play Caitlyn with that kind of burst, you will just shred people and their anus. And Caitlyn's one of those champions that can actually kite relatively well, because she's really long range. She's got a really long auto attack range, and her 90 caliber net is a really strong kiting tool, because you can go backwards with it and stuff like that. And so the Bork IE combo makes you an unstoppable force in team fights, which is one of the scenarios that Caitlyn really excels. Her ulti obviously isn't so good in team fights, but her long range just means she's one of the safest AD carries to play, which is one of the tips for you guys, actually. If you want to get into AD carries, I definitely recommend playing Caitlyn at first. But yeah, that's why people get Blade of the Ruined King and Infinity Edge, because one auto attack does about 600 damage. That's obviously negating armor. No synergy whatsoever. Yeah, that Nami's wrong. There is synergy there with Caitlyn, because obviously the passive. Oh, and also attack speed lets you proc Caitlyn's crit passive more often, because it's based on how many auto attacks she's done. It's 8, so Lee Sin's like, you guys are dumb. Yeah, they both cost a lot. So. Lee Sin's like, they both cost a lot, so that's the synergy. But no, they do have synergy in my opinion, especially on Caitlyn, who's a really strong team fight. Yeah, I don't know what LeBlanc is doing, or why she thought that was a good idea. Damn, damn, I don't know. No way. You're fucking wrecked. But yeah. You know. Hikia! Dude. I don't know why Lee decided that going in would be a good idea, because no one can follow him up. This is one of the main flaws. I'm just going to pause it right here. This is one of the main flaws with their team comp. Is that Riven and Lee. Riven is pretty squishy. She's actually very squishy right now. And Lee is relatively tanky and has that strong initiate. But no one can follow up. Unless Nami hits a full force ulti, no one else will be able to follow up. Caitlyn would not dare netting forward, because that's fucking dumb. Orianna can only speed herself up with dissonance, and that means dissonance is on cooldown, which means her damage output is going to be significantly reduced, especially if you max it out first. And Nami has her speed ups, but nothing compared to the mobility of Riven and Lee Sin. So as you saw here, they're both going to dive in. Well, Riven got jumped, but they're going to dive in, and they're going to create a huge gap between the rest of their team, which is why you can see Lee's body right in the top right corner, whereas everyone is still back here, and Riven's body's there because she fucking got caught out. And now Orianna's being caught out because Jarvan's just going to go full face. Vayne has her passive up. And who's flop winner playing? Who is that? Oh, it's Sona. And Sona has a crescendo. So the team doesn't really synergize very well. So the best thing they should be doing is waiting for the other team to initiate onto them. And now he's like, good fight, guys. Like, they should really be waiting for Jarvan to initiate on them and then just use superior positioning and stuff. Nami's right, that's bad fight pick. Did he just buy an elixir? Fucking hell. Yeah, Riven really commits to his early mid game. And to be honest, I don't think they're going to win in that time unless they win a pretty heavy team fight. But obviously, he's running straight into, like, straight back to where it was, because Riven's really good at playing cleanup. She's a really strong skirmish. She's a really strong 1v1er. Oh man, Riven just got fucking pwned. LeBlanc with the nice steals. 1v1 me. LeBlanc with nice steals there. Don't know why Riven wanted blue, to be honest, because it's much better going off on Orianna, who's doing fucking loads of damage and is going to be their saving grace in the late game. So I don't know. That was a little selfish of best Riven NA. Now, I'll 1v1 any of you. Oh man, I totally want to see a 1v1 between Sona and Nami. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, so as you can see, like by his build and the way he plays, best Riven NA really commits to the early mid game, which is a good way to play Riven, because it starts getting really difficult in the late game when everyone's really hit their full force of tankiness and damage, and Riven's ulti suddenly isn't such a strong amount. And I don't know why he's there. They got Baron, and that probably means that they're coming up through River to fuck Riven in the ass. Oh no, I don't know how they got there. But, oh well, they're not coming up through River anyway. But they got Baron, which is a huge disadvantage. I'm not sure if they're going to win or lose this game. I'm going to check the time. Yeah, 33 minutes. So they are actually going to win around the 30-minute mark, which is good for them, because if the game extended any longer than that, they probably would have lost. I'm sorry for the spoilers, but there's not really much more I can say on this. I'm just going to go ahead to a team fight that they win. Here they're losing a tower, they're getting over pressure, but the Nami ulti was pretty good, and to be honest, they should have followed up on that. Lee Sin, I guess, wanted to follow up, but obviously he couldn't dash ahead too much. They should have gone while the Nami slow had procced, and they could all catch up quite easily, which is the best thing to have done there, but I don't know. Riven has the intention of going hard on Vayne, which can totally work, and Vayne is the driving force in the teamfights right now, but it could also end in her getting her face blown up, and that's not so good. Why is he pinging there? Oh, he wants to camp. Yeah, camping is a good strat in this situation. I'm just going to pause it. Camping is a good strat in this situation because their main problem is that they have 2 champions with very long range gap closers or high mobility, and 3 champions with no major gap closers that they want to risk using. You know, which means they have a disconnection in the engagements, which can lead to them getting aced very quickly. So if they camp in a bush and all of them walk past, then they're all at the same point, standing right next to the people they need to be killing, which means there's none of that disconnection, and they can all just get the element of surprise and win a team fight really convincingly. I'm assuming they're gonna mobilize on Vayne and fuck her in the face. Lol. Sona literally just warded the bush they were just in, but Vayne's gonna die here. Riven burst is so strong. Boom, headshot. Yeah, what? He wasn't even looking. That's a mistake that Riven NA has made twice today, not looking at where he's going. The Shureliers is a very good itemization by Nami because she's probably recognized that disconnection and tried to fix it with Shureliers, which is a good pick actually. I like that. Although her I don't know, her theory logic is questionable, but it was a very good itemization there. What a Modi OP, but they won that team fight relatively convincingly. But I don't know. Riven didn't need to die there. That's a big mistake. He needs to pay more attention, to be honest. LeBlanc's probably dead here. Yeah, almost definitely. There's no chance. I'm pretty sure that's the turnaround play. But that was a nicely won team fight. Purely because they didn't have that disconnection. It was like a 1v... it was like 1 by 1 by 1. It wasn't like a full-on initiate where 3 people got left behind. It was like they called out Vayne first. And Vayne was completely disconnected from the team fight. Which means that main damage isn't there. Like anymore. What was I saying? The main damage source on purple side isn't there anymore, which means it's pretty much like an automatic loss for the team fight. And then that LeBlanc just backed straight out. Darius got chased for days, and Riven just got fucked because she wasn't paying attention. And Jarvan got disconnected. So, like, team fights generally revolve around your unity as a team, if that makes sense. So, if a team's all split up and gets taken out 1 by 1, then you're just going to get ace so fast. But if a team sticks together and mobilizes one unit and makes a single play with a single mentality, then you have a much higher chance of winning. Slay him. I don't know. I don't think following up on Darius would be a good idea at all. Because he's so raid bossy right now. And it would be a matter of, I think, between 10 and 20 seconds when backup came. Lol. Yeah, they're going to be pushing bot tower, which is, you know, easily counterable by moving bot. This is something you'll see a lot, actually. If you notice that they're pushing mid lane but not getting anywhere, and then you notice that a bot lane is minion pushing, then you should probably mobilize down there as soon as you see them disappear, because you don't want to lose that tower by just being negligent. Shurelli is away. Nice Nami ulti, but only picks up Darius because they can dodge it. Nami gets fucking exploded. And Riven's not there to contribute to the team fight, which means it's a bit of a risky one, but they probably win this one because Riven's camping a fucking bush. And that's just what Riven does. Riven burst is fucking broken as fuck. And she just cleans up. The main strong point in Riven is that okay. So lol. Riven had 100% team fight participation, kill participation in that team fight, because Riven not only does tons of burst, she has tons of AoE burst. Almost every damage skill she has is AoE, and her E is just a big ass shield that raises her effective HP lows. So when you get into a big group of those like that, don't bother. Well, I mean, like, you can auto-attack. That's another thing. Best Riven NA is all-walking, and auto-attacking on Riven is superb. So you can auto-attack between Qs almost flawlessly. So save your auto-attacks for the AD carry or whoever you're trying to burst down as fast as possible. But then just unleash all your fucking skills, like, on everyone. And, you know, you just do tons of damage. Because remember that Riven's ulti increases the range of her abilities as well. So if you ulti into a team fight, E forward, and then just hit your stun, you're going to AoE stun in above melee range. I think it's about 300 range all the way around, which is, you know, quite potent. Well, no, maybe more than that. But it's quite potent. It's quite potent stun, and then your Qs have a larger AoE range as well, so you start doing more damage. Your auto attacks even have a larger range, so you don't actually have to be right up close to that AD carry. You can be a little bit disconnected. But if you just manage to, like, get the jump on them, E right in the center, and just get a group stun so no one can retaliate and start bursting them, you'll probably die, but like as you saw here, he had 2 kills and 3 assists, which is 100% participation in the kills on the team fight, which means that he was pretty much the driving force between that shift and team fight. And that's good because they didn't have that disconnection. Everyone was close by, everyone was just instant there to follow up. And if he just ran in, done all that damage, he maybe would have killed Vayne, but he would have lost his life, and then they would have mobilized on the next one because someone, Lee Sin, would have initiated again to follow up on Riven, but no one else would have been able to safely. But in this instance, they were really close by, so they could also follow up with the damage really promptly and clean up really hard, which means they won the team fight super convincingly. So, like, there you go, the ace. And actually no, I was lying. Sorry, Riven didn't participate in the kill on LeBlanc, which is gay. But you know what? 80% participation can be worse. I'm pretty sure they're just gonna go for the win soon. So they're winning pretty hard. They're in that 30-minute area where Lee Sin and Riven are super strong. Caitlyn's range is going to be a huge advantage. Ori's not really hit her maximum point because she's not quite level 17. But this is probably just going to be a siege fight here. They don't have the strongest dive comp in the world. Lee's really tanky, and Riven has good effective HP. But Caitlyn's not the best diver, and neither is Orianna, and neither is Nami. If you want good diving, like a good dive support is Thresh. That's a nice bubble. Really strong dive support. A good dive AD carry would probably be Vayne or Ezreal. That was beautiful synergy there. They got wrecked. But that's what I mean. Like, there was no disconnection in that team fight. That was so fluid. Riven just went in, unleashed her full AoE combo, and Orianna saw that coming, shielded Riven, and then ultied perfectly on 4 members and just fucking ruined. That was really nice one-more combo, actually. But that's what I was talking about just now, you know? The AoE Riven combo. Like, okay, so I'm just going to analyze this a bit more. Orianna drops the ball on Riven, right? This is the chain of events that happened. Let's go forward just a little bit. The chain of events that happened, right? Beforehand, look at chat. Riven said, I flash on Vayne. Like, keep ball on me. I flash on Vayne, right? That's cool. Step 1. So, Riven's got the ball on her. So, she's standing there. They drop a ward here, so they have to be forced away. No one getting in bad position. Sees J4 recalling, but he doesn't for some reason. Nami lands a nice bubble, some nice poke off, and the minion wave isn't pushed, which is an irregular time. But look here, right? Vayne is out of position. That may not look like being out of position, but she's out of position. Realistically, she should be up where that Caitlyn trap is, so she can just back straight back into the tower. Her team can follow up, CC Riven under tower, and she'll probably, I mean, I doubt she'll survive the burst, but yeah. She's out of position because the best way for her to back out would be up through the jungle, which means she has a much higher chance of death. Riven sees this out of positionness. Flash E, right? No one's really reacted, but the Orianna ball was instantly put the shield on her, which means the combined key burst and the Orianna shield, command protect gives her about another, I would say that looks to me about another 400 extra health. That's way more effective HP. Here, oh shit. The stun comes out first. That's always really essential. The stun comes out, well, no, the ulti comes out first and then the stun. Like, this requires incredibly hard micro, or incredibly quick micro, which is something that you need to practice. Stun comes out first, right? To AoE stun them all, or 3 of them at least. And then the shockwave comes in, sees a nice opportunity, insta picks up Vayne. Qs come out, Riven ulti comes out. Qs start coming out to clean up. Mid flip, knocks Darius up under them, and that's just the fucking team fight over. Like, that was such a well executed combo, and it was such a good opportunity that realistically they only really needed 2. But if we just back up a bit more, back up again, because that was pretty much the game changing play. But like, this is where that really hardcore early game commitment comes in handy, because, like, I wouldn't say Darius is completely shut down, but Riven is doing fucking tons of damage, like donkey amounts of damage. Like, Riven doesn't have boots. She has 345 movement speed, but that doesn't even matter because you got the high cooldown reduction from the brutalizer and the attempted blue buff and stuff like that. So you've got the high mobility that's there already, and he's just going for full damage of the combo, and that works really well. But what I really want to focus on this time is the Caitlyn and the Lee Sin and stuff, because Really beautifully executed combo, you know? And just quickly, like, you can see best Riven NA pinged Jarvan 3 times. Like, communication here, really good communication between the team. There is very little disconnection. So goes in, minces, right? Now let's take a look at Caitlyn. She's like, yo, shit's going down. Lee Sin immediately comes forward, ward hops. Nami immediately with the ulti, as soon as she sees shit happening to clean up. And the team are just backing her up. And this is something you never see in the low elo. Someone initiates, but the team don't react fast enough. But everyone here has amazing reaction speeds. They just get together, they do that ulti, they do tons of damage there, and that's just so, that was such an easy. I have no idea why the fuck LeBlanc was zoned out so hard, but whatever. And they're just gonna push mid and sweep up the win here. But yeah, I hope that was explanatory for you. Little son is just like, ha ha, na 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 na. Nice crescendo. I don't know why LeBlanc's complaining about the team there, but whatever. But yeah, that was just really nice plays from Best Riven NA overall there. I hope you learned. It shows you the importance of having good communication in your team when team fighting. It shows you that you should take into consideration your team comp, not just what it should be based around, like poke or initiate or zoning or split pushing. It shouldn't be like that, but it should be who is going to be able to follow up and who's going to be able to react. And it, like, Riven communicated that. That's the main difference, in that they had good reactions because they were on their guard. They were ready. And, man, I really need to do a lot of theory on being on the state of readiness because it's so essential in this game. But, she pinged, like, Jarvan, like, 3 times. She said, Ori, keep your ball on me. I'm going to flash E on Vayne and murder her. And exactly what she did. As soon as she saw Vayne get a little bit out of position, just go straight in and just mince Vayne. And Ori with the perfect combo, you know? And it was like the perfect song. It was beautifully executed. But hopefully it'll also teach you about, you shouldn't worry about counterpicks that badly. You shouldn't always commit to the early game as much as Best Riven NA did. That's just his playstyle. He's an opportunist. You know, he really, really likes looking for those opportunities to go in, and when he finds those opportunities, it means a kill. Like, that's what he does. He plays passively. Like, he doesn't just when the lane dominance has been asserted, which is generally the first blood, he doesn't like to poke. He just likes to find the opportunity to get that full-on combo, and that full-on combo does so much fucking damage. You know, got the combination of Bloodthirster, Brutalizer, which will turn into Black Cleaver. You got the Ravenous Hydra in there, which does tons of damage, especially with her passive. You've got the Double Dorans, which gives you tons of early game damage, and that's Riven hit a stride. Obviously, you're going to hit consequences of this around the 40-50 minute mark, but like as I said, you know, as I predicted, they won in that precious 30-minute mark. They won. Let's see, when did they win? Yeah, they won at the 35-minute mark, so they won still in the mid game, which is, as I said, if it went any longer than that, they would have lost, because Orianna is really the only champion that will scale that well into late game on their team, or hyper late game on their team, whereas Vayne would have just been a force to be reckoned with, and I don't think Riven would have had, well, like, if Riven takes the opportunities correctly, then would have had the burst. And notice how Riven's end score by that time was 7-6-9. So that's not an overwhelmingly huge score, but I would still say Riven carried that game. Well, not carried. Orianna did actually a little more carrying than Riven did. But that's still, it's just because it's not a phenomenal score, that doesn't mean that the input to the game wasn't phenomenal. Because, like, as I said, Best Riven NA, he's an opportunist, and he looks for these opportunities and takes them. And that's a really essential thing, because everyone has their own playstyle, and the more you play, the more you will learn yours. And as we see here, Riven is a really good opportunist, or Best Riven NA is a really good opportunist, because he's played Riven hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games, bordering on thousands of games now. And if there's any champion you've played for more than 50 games, like, just look at yourself and be like, well, you know what, I'm not as good as Best Riven, and I don't know why, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. 99% of the time it's your mechanics. It's because you haven't played the game long enough, and you haven't practiced the champion long enough, because mechanics is only built up by practice. Like, you'll see they're all making questionable decisions. Their decision making is obviously not flawless. Their logic and their theory is not flawless. Like wondering why Caitlyn would take Blade of the Ruined King, and obviously that is a thing open to debate because her scaling on her Q is so high, whereas the base damage is not high, but it has really high damage, and with her ulti, it makes her really a force to be reckoned with in skirmishes. But remember that Q is unreliable because you can miss it, and it can go through multiple targets or minions, which reduces the damage it does, and you can generally just, it could be on cooldown in a bad situation. So having that kite potential and that really high damage from Blade of the Ruined King IE combo, especially on top of Caitlyn's passive with her crits and the attack speed bonus it gives you, means that you're just going to shred people. And like Naomi doesn't see that, and Best Riven and doesn't really see that. But that doesn't matter. They can see whatever they want. They can see flying LSD goat ships in the background. That doesn't matter because their mechanics are so solid and their playstyle is so solid, and they just play really excellently because they've practiced a lot. And that's another thing I want you to take out. Like I'm shoving in so many lessons into this one Best Riven NA game because there's so much that Best Riven NA can teach you, and I would definitely go and watch his stream. He plays really good music. He doesn't talk, but you know what? That's actually kind of nice sometimes. Just chill out, listen to some good music, watch some good LoL plays. He's not flawless, no one is, but just remember that practice makes perfect. And I'll see you guys next time. I hope you have a great day, and I appreciate you watching the video. I hope it taught you something.